extremely experienced September 29, 2006 Vancouver Sun article by Ian Walker. Before extreme was cool, there was George Hollinger. Sure, the 77-year-old grandfather has mellowed a bit in his old age, but start talking motorsports and you might as well turn back the odometer. Sitting in the living room of his quaint Burnaby home, Hollinger can hardly keep still as he relates story after story on life in the fast lane. A former motorcycle and race car driver and mechanic, Hollinger has seen and done it all in the world of amateur motorsports. From attempting a Canadian land speed record on his Vincent Black Shadow, think Ducati of the 1950s, or sitting in an open-top car in a rainstorm for 8 hours during an endurance race. Off the track, there were the quick jaunts to San Francisco. My wife liked to go there for supper, he laughs. We'd leave after work on Friday, be in San Fran by mid-afternoon Saturday. We'd eat, go to the theater, grab a few winks, then turn around and be back in time for work on Monday. We'd average more than 100 miles per hour for the trip, but of course that was in the days before speed traps. While it's been more than 30 years since Hollinger last pulled on his goggles and driving gloves, his contribution to the sport in the Lower Mainland will forever live on. He's one of the newest members of the Pioneers of Motorsport Hall of Fame. The brainchild of the Greater Vancouver Motorsport Pioneers Society, a group of old racing aficionados, the hall is a scrapbook, with each member a chapter. A copy of the book is housed at Trev Dealey Motorcycles on Boundary Road. It's a small thing compared to the Hockey Hall of Fame and the CFL Hall of Fame, but in our own way it's a pretty big thing, said the humble Hollinger, who joins 18 others who will be honored at an October 15, 2006 ceremony at Burnaby's Scandinavian Centre. It's an ego trip. Just to be in the same company of guys like Trev Dealey is an honor. Whether it was on his matchless G45 or his prized Vincent, Hollinger raced motorcycles for years at the Abbotsford Airport and later the Old Westwood Road course in Coquitlam. Cars were next on his list, but it was his ability as a mechanic that separated him from the pack. Hollinger built and tuned various engines that won championships in Western Canada and the US and was the crew chief for Nissan's championship entry in the 1967 Shell 4000 Cross Canada Rally. There's nothing I love more than the feel of the wind on my face. That sensation of speed was pretty awesome, but to be honest I wasn't a very good driver, says Hollinger. My biggest contributions were mechanically. Compared to guys like Trev Dealey, I wasn't even in the same league. Hollinger has since traded in his need for speed for a passion for pucks. After retiring from motorsports in 1975, he picked up hockey. He now plays 3 times a week. It's the camaraderie hockey provides that reminds him most of his days at the track. We used to call it bench racing, where a bunch of guys sit around after the race and swap lies, said Hollinger. All the guys I used to race against, we're all at such an age now, that the only time we see each other is at funerals. That's why the hockey's a good fit. It allows me to be part of a team. If it's bench racing Hollinger wants, that's exactly what he'll get at next month's induction dinner. It'll be a nice chance for everyone to catch up, says Terry Ria, one of the founders of the GVMPS. I can only imagine the stories that'll be told. George Hollinger, inducted 2006. Pioneer, Sports Car and Road Racing. Article by George Hollinger, edited by Tom Johnston. After World War II, George bought his first motorcycle in Montreal. He spent the next 7 years traveling by motorcycle throughout Canada, the United States and the eastern part of Mexico. George discovered Vancouver in 1962 where he decided to settle down. He bought a matchless G45 road racing motorcycle and raced at Abbotsford Airport until racing was discontinued. George went back east 3 times to compete in 100-mile road races in Quebec City, Three Rivers, and Edenvale, Ontario. During the 1950s he owned a Vincent Black Shadow and was involved in an effort to try for a Canadian speed record. George did some testing on Abbotsford, but nothing came of it, as a suitable length of road was not available. After racing stopped at Abbotsford, car racing began at Westwood. For the next number of years George built and tuned various engines that won quite a few championships in Western Canada and the United States. George was hired by Nissan as crew chief for Nissan's racing car entry in the 1967 Centennial Shell 4000 Cross Canada Rally and won the team award. As co-driver he won the Index of Performance Award at Westwood 7-Hour Endurance and was named Competition Mechanic of the Year. In 1972, as crew chief, he won the Canadian B Sports Racing Championship at Edmonton International Speedway in 1974. He defended the prestigious championship at Gimli, Manitoba in 1975. George was also the driver for the Carling Brewery Road Rally team in the 1960s. George stopped motorsport in 1975 and took up hockey, but that's an even better story.